And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon-to-be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you know somebody who may find this actually interesting, go ahead and share it with them as well. So on the heels of last week's podcast, I actually got a phone call, believe it or not, for somebody who actually listened to the podcast. So we're really doing well. There is somebody who actually pays attention. And they called me up and they said, well, we have an interesting situation. We got an inheritance. We have, we've got a family, we've got a bunch of kids, and we'd like to help one of the children make an addition to their home. Now, should we do it as a loan? Should we just give it as a gift? It's a complicated issue. It was definitely complicated. We spoke for a long time, but I'd like to speak about sort of the broader issue again about supporting, let's say, grown-up children this time, because that's what she was talking about. She was talking about her married children. Oftentimes I get people who say, yeah, our kids are out of the house, but, we still pay for their cell phone bills. We help them with rent, and yada, yada, yada. The question is that a good thing? Is it not a good thing? I don't know that I have an empirical answer. What I can tell you is that at some point, right, you've got to cut the umbilical cord, right? You've got to let your kids be on their own, right? Stop. You might want to use the word enabling them. I don't know what word you want to use, right? You might want to say it's tough love, but at some point your kids have to be independent. If they're not quite making it financially, so they should go out and, deliver pizza. Life isn't always easy, right? It can be hard, and financially it can be hard, and you have to do whatever it takes to do it. Now, on the other hand, you may not want to see your children suffer or work hard. So you have, right? You have a certain incentive to say, well, if I've got enough, right? Obviously, this only applies if you've got enough money. I'd like to help them ease the burden a little bit and help them. The question is, what are you creating? Are you actually creating dependency, or are you not creating dependency? Obviously, you have to really look into each case on its own merits. It's hard to give a blanket rule. What I can say is that, if you want to help out your kids a little bit, pay for your grandchildren's braces or pay for after-school curriculum activities or whatever, I sort of hear that, right? That makes sense to me. To make something sort of ongoing on a monthly basis, when your kids are in their 40s, say, oh, we're going to help them with their rent, or we're going to keep paying their cell phone bills. That to me seems a little bit over the top. Again, this is not objective. It seems sort of problematic to me, right? If their kids are, they get married and they're in school, I understand, right? But at some point, they've got to get out and get into the real world and start doing it on their own. I don't think you're doing anybody any favors by consistently helping them when they're 45 years old, right? And they've got a family paying the rent, unless there's a special circumstance, right? If there's special circumstances, somebody lost a job, somebody's got a disabled, special needs child, a disabled child, you can draw the list of those types of things, then I understand. And then you might want to help out because they really, their hands are sort of tied. They can't go out and deliver pizzas at night. They can't do DoorDash. Life dealt them the hand that it dealt them, and they've got to deal with it to the best of their abilities, but it might be difficult for them. So then you want to help. Understood. Okay. But if your kids are working, and maybe it's hard for them, and I'm not even saying living on a budget or what have you, right? I wouldn't be giving any support on a monthly basis, on a continual basis, if your children, your grown-up children, are not on a budget, right? If they're sort of winging it, there's no chance I would give them money. Okay, I can say that out straight. I can say that just straight. If they're living, with trying to live within their means, and they just can't do it, right? You go through and they've got a written budget, a monthly budget, an annual budget. It's just not working because they're not making enough, or whatever the situation is. Then I understand you want to kick in a little bit. It's easier for me to do that. It's easier for me to understand it. Okay. But if they're not, then you lost me. Okay. I don't think that you're not doing them any favors by sort of enabling them to be dependent on you and not living responsibly in a financial manner anyway, right? I don't think anybody's doing anybody any favors by that. I also want to repeat the importance of, if you want to do stuff with your money while you're alive and you want to give special one-off gifts to the children, that's okay, right? I wouldn't publicize it on the family WhatsApp group. I think that there should also be discretion amongst the receivers, right? If your kids are getting a gift from you, I don't think they should put it on the family WhatsApp group either. I think they should just keep it to themselves. It's nobody else's business. Just like you might have bought them a pair of Under Armour shoes when they were, 6, a cool pair of shoes, and the other, you bought a jump rope for your other child because in a time of crisis or need, right? I don't think you have to make up for that. I don't think you have to say, well, I owe the other one X amount of money because they only got a jump rope and this one got a pair of shoes. I don't think that that's something that anybody expects. I do think, like I said, like a broken record, when it comes time to setting up your will, make everything equal. The stupidest thing that you can do is try and balance things out posthumously. Okay, that's not going to do anybody any good. It's going to earn you a lot of angry children. It's going to impact your legacy, and it's going to create tremendous discord amongst your children once you pass. That's the dumbest thing that you can do. Always make things equal in the will. If you want to play around, try and help where needed while you're alive. It's your money. You can go for it. Again, if it's larger amounts, if it's continual amounts, like on a monthly basis, I would think twice about how I would approach that. If it's going back to the original question, if it's helping them with money to build an extension to their house, that's a tough one, right? You can give them the gift, but I suggested it be a loan. That's what I sort of suggested. Again, it's a much more complicated, I don't have enough time to discuss all that we went into that conversation, right? That was a complicated conversation. There were a lot of moving parts, a lot of children also, so that complicates it. You want to give gifts to your children when they're older, go ahead, go for it. And again, I think both sides should be discreet in that. I don't think that should be publicized. And as I said, if it creates some kind of dependency or you're enabling them, right? At some point, you got to show tough love, right? When they're 40 years old, I think the time has already arrived, right? You can say no to your children. You should have said no to your children when they were like 7. That's what I do. That's why I have such a great relationship with my children. They know never to come to me for money because I'm not going to give them any. No, I'm kidding. But at some point, you have to say, no, I'm not going to do this, right? I'm not going to pay for your cell phone bill when you're 38 years old. That's a little preposterous, okay? I don't care what your situation is. And certainly, I'm not even going to entertain the notion if you're not living on a written budget. That's like, forget it, okay? If you want to be financially irresponsible, go for it, but don't come calling to mom and dad to help bail you out on a continual basis. That's just, as we say in the local vernacular, that's chutzpah. Okay, so don't do that. Once again, posthumously, make everything in your will, make everything equal. While you're still alive, it's your money, you can give gifts, but be smart about it, be discreet about it, and don't create a situation where you're creating dependency. Your children become dependent on you when they're way out of the house already. That's been a long, they left the house a long, long time ago, and they're on their own 2 feet. They have to be on their own 2 feet. They can't be on like 1.5 feet with you being the other foot, if you get what I mean. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. That is my name. The Aaron Katzman Show. We speak about your life and money and your investments. If you liked this, hit the like button below. If you didn't like it, feel free to comment or call or whatever. If you thought somebody might gain from it, please go ahead and share it as well. And if you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.